and welcome to the Fat Squirrel Speaks. Today is Friday, August 14th, and this is episode 277. I am Amy Beth, also known as the Fat Squirrel on Ravelry and the Fat SQRRL on Instagram. I hope you are well. Full disclosure, I'm not wearing pants. The windows are open, you're gonna hear traffic. Welcome. It's a little damp in here. The HVAC people are coming next week to install our fancy new heating and cooling. Did I tell you that last time that we also found out that our heater is broken? Like, it wasn't like they're like, this heater looks a little, no, like they were like, here's this heating thing that's about to rust through where it belongs and also monoxide. And we were like, oh, okay. Anyway, that is happening next week. So luckily, we've been very lucky to stay under the 90s. So I'm very thankful. It's been not too bad. We've been able to like just, oh my gosh, really? Like there's so much of me talking. I know you care. We're friends. I would care if you were saying these things, but sometimes it's hard when you don't want to put yourself in the middle of things to put yourself in the middle of things, right? Woes. All right, let's move through it. Move through it. That was just to say, it is a little uncomfortable for you today. I apologize. But I appreciate you visiting with me all the same. You don't have to wear your pants either. Did I already tell you I wasn't wearing pants? Yeah, you don't have to wear yours either. It's fine. I've got quilts down. It's fine. So this week's episode is going to have administrati. It's going to have gardening updates. It's going to have spinning. It's going to have knitting. In the administrati, there is a little tiny bit of quilting. I got 2 earrings now. Thank you. Last week I only had 1 earring in because I only could find 1 earring that I owned that wasn't like a dangly weird earring. But I did get myself a pair of earrings. An actual pair that are the same for both ears. Oh my goodness, right? Craziness. So, yeah, let's get into it. Yeah, it's too hot to dilly-dally, y'all. So, in administrative goodness, if you contributed financially to the podcast via Patreon, PayPal, or Ko-Fi in the second quarter of 2020, I have prizes for you today. Thank you for being patient while I got that set up. I wanted to make you something and I hadn't like set on what exactly it was going to be. So I figured that out so we can do prizes today. So that is all to say also, big thank yous to folks who contribute financially to the podcast. It means the world to us, especially right now when things are so hard for everybody. It's really deeply appreciated. If you would like to contribute to the podcast, if you enjoy it, if you find yourself looking forward to each episode, I would humbly ask that if you have the means, that you follow the link that's in the YouTube pull down and you can get information about how to just do a one-time contribution. If you want to do like via Ko-Fi, just like, hey lady, here's a coffee. Or if you want to have a continuing contribution via the Patreon page. I am starting to do they offered this new thing called Lens, which is kind of like an Instagram stories. So I'm starting to do those, and those are for Patreon folks. I don't know how to marry that into anything else. In fact, I don't think I can. So it's just for Patreon folks right now. And they're just like little silly things, but it's kind of fun to be able to just kind of touch base with you when it's a longer time between recordings. So that is all to say that we have prizes. So I drew prizes via random number generator, and those folks are as follows. So if I read your name, I'm going to show, okay, I'll show you the prizes first. Okay, that makes more sense. I'll show you the prizes and then I'll tell you who won. Okay, so the prizes are in no particular order, since we're moving into September soon. Oh my gosh, right y'all? So happy. I have this exciting, I only had 1 sweater size of this beautiful fabric that I just deeply enjoy. I really need to do a pre-order. There's just not enough hours in the day, y'all. But so I have a sweater size. You can ask for that one. Or I've been trying to go through everything, and like I usually hold back some fabric just in case there's an issue. And so now I'm starting to try to use that up. And also I have a kitty cat bag if you want the kitty cats and house coats. And then I made you a special option, which is this guy. Right? Okay, so my friend Corey made a bunch of us these beautiful, and I love this sock bag so much. I use it primarily for socks. It's actually my car knitting bag. And I just love this bag so much. It's called a rice bag, is this kind of like the general term for it. It would have been something that you could, or is something that you could make. It has a good square bottom. It's pretty easy to carry things in, open and close. And it's just, I really love it. It's a great way to do a drawstring that is for me, easier to sew, and then B, I actually just really like the functionality of it. So this is a beautiful like vintage quilter's cotton, but if you want to do like canvas or like a heavier fabric, it's an awesome way to use those because you only have these tabs that the drawstring is going through. It actually closes up all the way, and then you have this fun little kind of effect of like this little star effect at the top, which is very pleasant. Anyway, I've been wanting to make some, and so finally I had the like realization that I could connect these things that I've been wanting to do. So I made you this one. So this is made from some scraps that I had left over from my tablecloth quilt that I have in my dining room. So like when we sit in the other room where you have the curtains behind me, this is the tablecloth that's at that area. Well, it's not really, it's got a topper, but it covers the full top of the table. So I had some scraps, and then my mom had given me a 5-inch squares are called charm packs, right? Yeah, she had given me a charm pack. So between the scraps and a charm pack, I'm gonna have enough to make several of these. So like this will be a prize for the foreseeable future. Okay, maybe not that long, but at least for the next few prize drawings. I'll do one of these because it'll be like you're sitting at a table with me while you're knitting. So fun. So I wanted to also use this opportunity to do some flying geese. I really love flying geese quilts. So I wanted to use that opportunity to do that with some paper piecing. So I just printed off like regular computer paper, nothing fancy. I'll remember to put the link. That's me telling myself that, right? I'm going to remember to put the link in the show notes of the free paper piecing. Oh no, wait, I used one that I did pay for, but there is free paper piecing. There's a bunch of them, and Flying Geese is one of those. I'll put links to both, the one that I did pay for and the one that was free. And you can just, yeah. The one that I paid for that I liked, one of the things I liked about it is it had like a ton of sizes. It had everything, I think, from like 1-inch geese all the way up to this is the biggest size, which is like a 6-inch finished block. But, and then they also had them so it wouldn't just be one like unit, but it had like multiples. So on the smaller ones, you can have like 5 or 6 that would fit on one printer page, but on this one, just 2 would fit on a printer page. So yeah, it was really fun to do those. They do waste a bit of fabric, definitely, compared to regular piecing. So I'm not sure how I'd feel about it for like a large project. I think I would be afraid that there would be a little bit too much waste for me to feel okay about. But certainly for these little projects, it's not a big deal. And it's really fun to have the geese be perfect, right? I'm just looking at them, admiring them right now. Because basically, I'm uber fancy. Do you want to see close up? Right? How cute is that? And so this is the Canning Day by Corey Yoder from Moda. That's what this line of fabrics is, which I just, again, not my normal color palette at all, but I just love it so much on my table for summer. I think it's one of the things that I've enjoyed most about the summer is zinnias and this little quilt topper that I made. They've really been helpful for my morale. But so yeah, and then I just used some bias tape that I had for facings and things for the ties. So yeah, it's super cute. Cotton batting. Is that all you need to know? I think that's all you need to do. I just machine quilted it. It's super cute though. So there's that. Those are the prizes. Oh, those are the prizes. I got distracted. So here are the people who won the prizes. I'm going to read you in order. So the first person, just tell me which one you want. The second person, give me your first and second choices. And then the third person, you will give me your choices in order, because sometimes one of the other people decides they want to just opt out that month, or, you know, they've already won and they don't want to win again, or, you know, whatever. So just give me all your choices. And then if there's extra, I'll roll them over to next time. Does that make sense? Okay. So you can email me at AMYB like boy, MAYS at Gmail. That's the same address that you do that PayPal posts to. Or you can use the contact me form on my website, which is on my shop website, which is fatsquirrelfibers.com. If you contact me on Ravelry, I will probably not see it forever because I'm the worst. But so yeah, so send me the information. I need your choices and I need your actual human name, because I don't have that for all of you. And then I need your actual mailing address. Oh my gosh, right, here we go. First winner is Katie P. Oh, what? I can say your last name's right. I'm just going to say it. Katie Prater, thank you for contributing to the podcast. Yay. The second prize winner is the Mindful Knitter. That's you. That's right. And then the third prize winner is Beth McDonald. Oh my goodness. Send me prizes. Choices. Don't send me prizes. Right, so that's the administrative stuff. Yay, thanks for sticking with us. But isn't this cute? Do you love it? Hello. So there's lots. There's YouTube videos. There's patterns on Etsy for the rice bag. I think if you put the word Japanese in front of it, you will get better results. Because sometimes it just like is. I think there's another thing that you look when you just search rice bag that you'll get, but. Oh, that's right. You get like the heating ones that you put in the microwave or whatever. That's what it was. You get that if you just a Japanese rice bag will get you this super cute pattern. Just so enjoyable. Okay. Then let's do maybe gardening update. Yeah. Yeah, let's do it. I'm looking at like the things I thought we could talk about. One of them is a movie or a documentary that I watched called Call of the Forest, but I just don't feel like I can think big things right now. And I want to talk about some big things there. And so I think we're just going to go into gardening, and just like this will be a shorter episode. It's warm. You probably don't want to hang out forever. You know? That's okay. Next time will be more comfortable for you. So, let's talk about gardening. Oh my goodness. I'm just checking. There was obviously something else. Okay. Squares? What does that even mean? Oh goodness, past me. Get yourself together. Okay, let's not even talk about it. Okay, so first off, we harvested potatoes. Okay, so thank you so much for all of your support about potato growing and all of your information about different ways to hill or the equivalent there too. We this year we chose not to hill because I had read somewhere that you didn't have to. And I just thought especially if you had very like well dug beds, and since we do raised beds, we dig them quite nicely. Quite nicely? That doesn't make sense. We dig them. So the soil is good soil, and it's fairly loose. So I thought this year we're just going to try not to hill, because as I said last time, we have a bit of soil is a commodity at this point, because unless you get a truckload of soil is super expensive, y'all. We decided that once our potatoes started growing and like they were starting to get leggy, and like I was starting to have some potatoes that were like peeking up above the dirt line. So, obviously potatoes do not like light, so they get green and then it's not good for them. And so I just was kind of like out of soil. Like every time I would try to kind of hill up that area, I would be taking soil from another place that then was going to have exposed potatoes very soon. So what I decided to do is we compost in like a roller bin thing. And like when I was growing up, we always had I say we, like, but my grandparents always had like open compost, so you could just put whatever you wanted in there that was compostable, and it would work. But when you're doing these like smaller, like more, I don't, is high efficiency the right word? But whatever. These enclosed compost, you have to be much more careful with your carbon to nitrogen ratio. So like your brown to green ratio. And I don't know about y'all, but our house produces way more green than it does brown. And if you just load up your composter with green, it'll just rot. It won't actually make good compost. And like there's lots of things you can add that are brown that you probably have around your house, like cardboard boxes and things like that. But in those higher efficiency, I don't know what you call them, but the closed systems, maybe that's what we should call them. In the closed systems, like you do have to break down cardboard to very small pieces. And I just use my hands and my tendons too much during my daily work to then also do that. It's too hard on me. So I don't do that. End of story. But it is something you could do if that's a priority or if that's something you can work into your day. Anyway, so I've had this conundrum about like what to do because it's very frustrating. I went to compost. Our city does not have, as far as I know, does not have any sort of composting situation. And I also would like to compost because I would like to not have to buy that kind of stuff, just from a financial standpoint, purely even. So I found this YouTube video that suggested that you use equine bedding, which is something you can get like at your Tractor Supply or whatever. And it's fairly affordable. I think it's like, it's $10 or less for like a 40-pound bag. So, I mean, that's quite a bit. And what it is I think it's just pelletized sawdust, because it kind of looks like rabbit food or guinea, like this, like little pellets. And then, but it really quickly breaks down once it rains or whatever. It just looks like you've got sawdust down. And because, you know, horses are expensive and they're like delicate creatures, there's no chemicals or anything added into the bedding. So it's a really good option. So I had gotten it originally for our compost to help, you know, even out our brown and green. It totally works, by the way. But then I thought, so our potatoes were looking a little leggy. They were looking, so I was having some potatoes that were like kind of peeking up, and then they were getting green, of course, because they don't like daylight. And I would try to hill up from like one place to the other, but then we have such a dense planting that I was afraid I was just basically going to be robbing Peter to pay Paul for that dirt, and it was just going to uncover something else. So decided to put down a fine layer, just like kind of shook it out on the beds. And that seemed to really help. And it broke down so quickly that it was just kind of like I had put sawdust down or something. I don't know why. I don't know. That's what I did. It's not like I'm telling you to do it. It's just what we did. So that helped. Okay, that's where I was going. That helped with potatoes getting green. But ultimately, I got to the place where I was like, I'm just going to dig these guys up because we had a couple mushrooms. It was just kind of humid and wet. And I kept seeing vines that would kind of, or I guess they're not really vines, stalks that were like going to get slimy. And I was like, are those attached potatoes that are going to get bad under the ground? And ultimately I was just like, whatever. If we dig now, I'll have time theoretically to get another, like a bush bean crop in there before the freeze. So I'm just going to try it. So we just dug everything out, and actually it was not too bad. I mean, we definitely had a lot of new potatoes, like teensy tiny guys. But we had, you know, also had a lot of fist-sized potatoes. And we dug everything out, let it dry, and we got about 20 pounds of potatoes. And we planted about 8. So that's not a good return. Lots of times you hear like a 10 to 1. Like you plant a pound of seed potatoes, you get 10 pounds out. So that's not like a good return, but that is not to say that I was not pleased with it. I mean, yeah, it would have been nicer if we would have gotten 30 or 40 pounds out. But with this being our first year, and like there being absolutely no work applied to that. Like literally, like I cut up the seed potatoes, let them dry a little bit, and then planted them, and then didn't do anything until like those last 4 weeks where I put one layer of essentially sawdust on them. Like, other than like the worrying that they were rotting in the ground, there was no work done to them at all. And it was really good. I think next year we have a great idea of what we're going to do differently. I say we. Me. I'm the showboat here. I have a different idea of what I'm going to do differently. I'm definitely going to try a hilling, like an actual, like, formalized hilling process. But I also really love the soil that we got from adding that sawdust to it. Like, it was beautiful. Like, it was so light and loamy feeling. So, you know, I'm going to be interested to see how those beds do over winter and see what they look like come spring, because that soil was beautiful. It was very enjoyable. So yeah. And we're just having tons of salt potatoes. Do you know what salt potatoes are? Okay, my friends Bill and Joanna are the people who originally introduced me to salt potatoes, but I've had other of y'all suggest them too. Basically, they are a regional specialty of like the Syracuse, New York area. And what they were is that the workers, there were like brine pools where they were making salt. So they were boiling off, and so they would have like this super saturated saline salty water, and they would boil their potatoes in it for their lunch. And it makes really delicious potatoes. So if you look up salt potatoes, I'm pretty sure you'll find all the information you need. And they're very delicious. Just saying. That takes us right into green beans. Okay, if you've been with me for a while, you know my saga. Well, it's really not a saga, but for me personally, it feels like a saga. Because green beans are like the main thing I enjoy from a garden. Because growing up, my grandparents always had white half-runner beans. My grandmother always canned them. One year she canned like 300 quarts of them. Anyway, there's just like that flavor is a big part of my childhood. And since it's probably not likely that I'm going to start fishing for walleye in Lake Erie, which would be fun. But that's like the other big consistent like food of my childhood. It definitely seems like the most accessible thing, right? And beans are supposed to be super easy to grow, right? Like they are basically like a zucchini. They fix their own nitrogen. They don't need great soil. And I have just not been successful in growing runner beans. This year I thought I was going to have the same story. I mean, I was doing slightly better than last year. Last year I barely got enough for maybe 2 messes, I think. This year, I was kind of limping along and like, I don't know. And then all of a sudden, they're coming on. So today I went out this morning and I picked 4 pounds, which I'm really excited about. And the thing that I'm even more excited about is I think I know next year what to do to even have a better situation. So that's really exciting. I think, yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. So the Lazy Wifes are the beans that I was having best luck with before. They're kind of tapering off. I think they're hitting the end of their cycle. But all the white half runners that I planted from seed after that those Lazy Wifes were started inside, they're all starting to kind of come on. And so that's really exciting. Now I've got like this, so we have 4x4 boxes, like 4x4 raised beds. And I have 3 of them committed to beans. So 4 pounds is really not that much to get out of them. Obviously they're runner beans. They're going to keep going until frost, hopefully. What was I saying? Oh, but I think I've determined that I have been planting too close, because those Lazy Wives, since they were planted from, like I started them inside, I think I spaced them better, because when you're planting seeds, you're like, well, I'm going to put 2 in this hole because maybe only one of them is going to make it, or, and I think I have not thinned them adequately, and I think that's one of the reasons I'm having like crazy bean jungle. So I think that's one of the things I'm going to do next year is like really limit my spacing. Because, you know, it's hard not to think like, oh, well, if I plan more, I'll get more. But then they're competing, and ultimately you're not necessarily doing yourself any favors. And then also, I have been running 3 rows essentially in those boxes. And that middle row, unless something weird happens, which it could totally happen, that middle row is just not productive. I think I'm really mostly getting beans off the very top line. I think there's just dense enough foliage that pollinators are not getting down in there. They're just hitting the top bean flowers. So that's one thing you're going to do different. Either I'm going to totally remove that middle row next year, or if I'm planting more sparsely, that's probably better. I'm going to plant more sparsely so that even I can utilize that middle row, but because I'll have less plants overall, there'll be more airflow, which is always good, more room for pollinators, easier picking, like in terms of being able to see stuff, because I've definitely had a few beans that are like that zucchini that you missed that's like now this big. I've had a couple of those beans where you're like, whoa, that's gnarly looking. That's going to be a little chewy. Whatever, I'm still using it. But yeah, today was really exciting. I went out, I had to put all of the clothes on, because if I don't, I'm going to get eaten alive. But I like took out my little grocery bag to pick into, because I'm not fancy. There's no like basket or any, I mean, I want to be the basket person, but I'm the grocery bag person. So I went out in my little grocery bag, and then I was just like, there were secret beans everywhere. Like I just picked 4 days ago, I want to say. Maybe not even 4 days ago. Maybe it was only 3 days. Maybe it was 4 days. Whatever. I don't know where all those beans came from, but they just happened like, bam. So I'm kind of hoping they just do this for the rest of the year. I'd be so excited. Because I even have some of my Mammal's quart jars, so it'll be really, exciting. It's almost apple season. I'm a little nervous about our apple season. We're almost out of applesauce, because I finally got my family to eat applesauce. Jeez Louise. But now I'm almost out of applesauce. I was actually to the point of being like, maybe we should start canning applesauce in quarts, because we're still gonna go with pints. But yeah, our orchard that we usually go to is not doing U-pick until September 5th. And I don't know if that's because we had a late frost, and so I don't know if they just have too much like if they don't have enough product, or if it's related to COVID. I don't know which one it is. So yeah, right now they just have ginger golds, which are not my favorite. I don't even think they had a Connie's unless I missed them. If they did, they had a very short window of them. But hopefully the later apples are going to be okay. We'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, I need to make some applesauce, y'all. But I am thankful that my air conditioner is probably going to be working by then. Yes. So yeah, that's our garden news. I'm really excited. We still have tomatoes. I thought maybe our tomatoes were done, but they seem to be like having a second growth spurt. So they're like 8 feet tall. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but they're like at least 7 feet tall. I can barely reach the top of some of them. So, but they seem like they've got another set of good fruits on them. So we're just going to go. This year I think I've had less overall, but I think it's because I did that crazy vinegar thing. But even though I have actually another 4-foot bed of tomatoes this year that I didn't have last year, I still think I have less overall. But the season's not over yet, so we'll see how it goes overall. But yeah, what else? Chimney's taken care of. Our 8-foot tall coal chimney is now like a 4-course tall regular chimney, so that's good. That means they can install our heating and air conditioner. That's a good thing. I won't lie, there was, when I saw how many dollars it was going to take to have heating and air conditioning put in, I really did have like a, do we have to do that? I mean, I have space heaters, right? And we have lots of wool. I mean, do we have to do this? Yikes. But I guess we should be grown-ups and do this thing. Although I'm still not sure that we should have done this thing. Still not sure. I'm sure next year when it's like we have a heat wave. This year we've had a very mild summer, really. I'm sure next year when we have a heat wave where it's over 100 degrees for like a week in a row, I'll be killing past me for not having the air conditioning installed. But maybe not. I don't know. Okay, we're just doing it. It's done. Gosh. But that's really... I'm still not sure we should. Anyway, that's happening. Oh, and then, like, I still don't know what this squares things means. Alternatives to spin cycle. But that doesn't have anything to do with squares. I think maybe I was talking about my Afghan squares. I'll talk about that in a minute then. Oh, last time when I talked about the cardigan, I just totally barely even talked about it. I was just really excited that I had finished it. And I didn't really, like, I don't think I told you what yarns it was, but I talked about it so much, so I was just like, oh, I guess I was just over talking about it. So I think what I'll do is maybe do like a special episode where I do a better recap of the cardigan. That's the granny stripe cardigan that I showed you last time. So I think I'm going to try to do that, but I need a little space from it before I can do the episode. But doesn't mean I'm not happy with it, because I really am. But yeah. And then, oh, I forgot to do this. Special thanks go out to this week to Josephine and Patricia. As I was compiling the patrons of the podcast list, I just wanted to send a special thank you out to Josephine and Patricia. It's really appreciated. Yay. Okay, now let's talk about woolly stuff. I finished my spinning project. So I have been spinning, these are nest fibers, nestlets, essentially. They're just like assorted little fiber bumps. But they're not like an odds and ends. They are like an intentional grouping. And so ultimately I got, I think this almost weighed 9 ounces, which I didn't realize it was that many. I thought it was like 6, which makes sense because it was taking forever to spin. But I got 9 ounces and I got 620 yards. I'm an alchemist. I got 620 yards of a chain ply. So it's like a sport or a DK probably. I am not a consistent spinner, y'all. But that's okay for me. I mean, I would like, if I could just like buy that app, I would be into it. But I'm not into practicing enough. So, but I am really pleased with how it turned out, right? There's this beautiful, like, dusty pink and one of my favorite slimy greens and this beautiful teal and a smoky gray and a smoky lavender and then like a wine as well. It's just a really beautiful color combination. So I didn't spin them in any particular order because originally I thought I would just split them into mini skeins, but then I just wound them off on the same skein because it was like, whatever. But I think I might do a crocheted like granny square cowl again, because those are not a granny square cowl, but a granny stripe cowl. How's that? I might write up that pattern because a lot of people have asked about it. But anyway, so that's what I think I'm going to do with it. Won't that be pretty? So I'm very excited about that. So yeah. The skein is a little wonky because I like wound the teal on and then my skein winder, like I hadn't tightened it enough, and so it like kind of shrunk down. So there's actually probably a little bit more than 620 yards because the blue is not, there's more blue on there than I thought. But so yeah, I'm very pleased with that. I haven't started anything else. I've been on a big like quilting rabbit hole. I've not actually quilted anything besides your little project bag that I made for you. But I have been on a brain consuming, quilt porn, quite frankly. I am now following like 75 Instagram hashtags involving quilts. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, y'all. Ridiculous. But I have been spending a lot of time doing that, which is also to say that I've not done a ton of knitting, but I have some things to show you. So the first thing I want to show you is I did some crochet squares. I'm doing a crochet square swap with some folks that's just like a low-key. But this is what I have so far. So I have this Chroma twist. This is KnitPicks Chroma. It's 70% wool, 30%, actually I think it's 70% merino, isn't it? 30% nylon. Do they tell me that? Oh, okay, 70% superwash wool, 30% nylon. It's not my favorite, but it's real pretty. And I wanted to try it because so many patterns are using spin cycle yarns. And like for me, since I'm a hand spinner, I can totally use Handspun in place of spin cycle. But I was like, I should try to find other alternatives to talk about that are alternatives to either Handspun or to spin cycle, because it's just not in everybody's budget. Neither is this, but it's a different price point very much. So I think 100 grams of this Chroma worsted is Chroma twist, excuse me. It's very vinegary, I just noticed. Well, it's pretty vinegary. I think it's like $11.99. I wanna say that. I'm not entirely sure. So I just thought I would try it as an alternative for folks. This one is called Lupine, and then this one is called Go-Go Boots, I think. So yeah, it's fine. It's not my super favorite. I think it kind of has, you know what? I'm not even going to say that. It's fine. I shouldn't say it's not my super favorite. I like woolen spun yarns. It's not a woolen spun yarn. That's the only reason it's not my favorite. There. But so yeah, it definitely has, cause they've had Chroma for a long time, right? It's like the slow change. I'm doing another project with it. It's the slow change single ply. And so what they've done, I think, is just plied 2 of the fingering weight Chroma together to get this Chroma twist. So there's a lot more variation in this lupine than in the Go-Go Boots, but you can see it's pretty fun, right? So, whew, this is 1 skein's worth, and you can see that there's pretty long color transitions, and this one is pretty much just duochromatic. Is that a word? But anyway, they're very cute little squares, and here's the here got one made out of the purple so far, the lupine. So yeah, it's a great alternative for like a hand spun look. Now the twist, so this kind that has the hand spun look, the barber pulling look, is only in worsted so far, I think. I'm pretty sure, but I don't know if they have plans to do another one or not. But I would say that it's a great alternative to things that call for spin cycle or hand spun, and that it's a pretty good value for folks. So there's that, and then I had some stroll. This is not a KnitPicks commercial. I just needed to order. I had one of these in stash forever, and I realized I was going to need another one. So, oops, I ordered other things. They also have their KnitPicks stroll, which is their sock yarn that has a superwash nylon. They have them in like gradient cakes. So that's another option. It's a long color change. So 100 gram skein, the one I got had 4 colors in it. It had a yellow, an orange, a light teal, and a dark teal. And so if you could just take, again, this would be a worsted option or a DK option. You can just, hold them together and you get, these I held the like tones together so it doesn't show up quite as much as it would if I had used like the inside and the outside of the ball together. But it kind of gives you a similar thing. And of course you could do that with 2 different colored gradient balls, and that would give you more of a hand spun effect. And you can just hold them together, or if you're looking for if you don't want to do that, like some people just don't enjoy that process. And it is easier, especially if you're knitting, it's easier to actually catch one of those, and that can be frustrating. So if you don't like holding them together, you can just use a drop spindle, or you're gonna make a drop spindle out of stuff you have around the house, and you can just ply them together. Just put some twist into it. Try it both ways. So try the twist going one way and see what it looks like. Try the twist going the other way and see what it looks like, and see which one you prefer. You know, you can just put some twist to the two strands, and it'll make it a new yarn. So that's an option too. And of course you can do that with anything. You do that with scraps that you have around. You know, just experiment with it. And that can also give you that spin cycle or hand spun look if you're not a spinner or a spin cycle purchaser. Okay? Okay. So yeah, so I got quite a few. Glad you're not on the table and I keep rattling. But I got a bunch of squares done, so that was fun. I tell you, this has been such a nice project when you just want to finish something, but like you also don't have to have any ownership over it. It's like when you go to a yarn festival and somebody asks you to buy something for them. It's like you get the fun like hit of getting able to buy it and like look at it and choose it, but then you don't have any responsibility of like owning it or making it into anything else. That's kind of what these squares are like. I mean, yes, ultimately I'm going to get ones I get to join, but like that's a totally different process. It's not like I'm like having to join these. You know what I mean? Like I just get to send them out, which is super fun. So yay. I got a bunch of squares done. So then the rest of the show is knitting that I'll show you. I say the rest of the show like it's going to be another hour. The remainder is knitting I'm going to show you. And I have not worked on anything that I showed you last time. I'm the worst. So I'm still going to be working on those things. I just haven't worked on them in the few weeks since we have talked. So these things are new. Since I already showed you that Chroma, I'll show you what's in that bag. I cast on a Botanic Shawl, which is by Stephen West. And I think it's I'm pretty sure it's a relatively new pattern, but it seems like it's especially well suited to hand spuns or spin cycle or long color changes, or you can use those and then also like a semi-solid or a solid, or you can use both of them, wild and crazy yarns. It's up to you. But that's what I see is the like using a solid or a semi-solid along with something that's got some more oomph to it. So I have had this hand spun. It's one where I did, it's two different bumps. One of them is from Nest and one of them is from Hello Yarn, I believe. But they looked together. They looked kind of beachy to me, and I thought, oh, this will go together. So it's 8 ounces and it's about a fingering weight 2-ply. And it's been in my stash for quite some time now because I just keep looking at it and not knowing what to do with it. At first I was like, oh, it's too underplied. I need to reply it. And then of course that makes you think you're never going to do anything with it. Then I was like, it's really not too underplied. I know that when I knit with this, it's going to be just fine. It's just not what I like it to look like in the skein. So let that go. So then I thought, okay, I had this Quilting Company Belize that I got when I did one of the knitting pipeline retreats. She gives out a knitting pipeline bag with a couple skeins of quince in it. So I had this. This is not normally a color I would pick, but I thought, oh, those look perfect together because it's almost exactly the same blue that's in there. So I thought, okay, I've got 2 skeins of it. I've got 8 ounces of this. I'll get another couple skeins of this and then I'll put them together and that'll be great. And I started to cast on for this Botanic Shawl and I hated it. Like, usually I'm like, not sure about that, or I hated it. And it just didn't make sense why I didn't like it. I was like, this seems like it would be such a good idea, but neither here nor there. I did not like it. So I was a little bummed out. And then I was like, this is in timeout and I am just going to give it away as a kit. But then I gave it one more try. And I'm so glad I did. Because I started knitting it with this Chroma fingering weight. It's single ply yarn. I don't love this yarn. I just had it in stash from another project that I thought I was going to make and then ended up not making or something. I don't know. Or I like bought it for charity knitting hats or something. I don't even know. But I thought, I'm just going to try it. It's kind of a similar color, but it had more light color in it. That's one of the things I didn't like about this. It was too much contrast, value-wise, from one to the other. Hold on. We had lunch requirements. Okay, so I thought that I might like this better because it had a lot more of a lighter color in it, and in fact, it even has like a sandy kind of grayish color in it. So originally, I would have not thought to put those together because I would have thought like, oh, that's too like bleh, too much light color. And I like saturated colors. It's not usually what I am drawn to, but look at it. Oh my gosh, really could I not know how to hold things? I've been doing this for a minute. Right. So I'm really excited about how it's working. And I love how this section is very like kind of limey green, but I love that with the brown in the forefront of it, it just kind of has a golden look to it. So yeah, I'm pleased with it. It's super fun. So I think that's pretty much the color spectrum. It's because over here we have this kind of like taupey kind of color all the way to the darkest of the blue, and then we're starting to go back, I think. So yeah, I'm very pleased with it. I don't love knitting with single ply yarns, but it's not bad. Mostly the places I don't like it is on the I-cord edging, because you just have to like, I don't know. It's not my favorite, but I do really like how it's turning out. Right. And of course, Mr. West's patterns are always highly enjoyable. I had to look at the pattern for the first few rows and now it's just smooth sailing. I've got these patterns, these are going out, not all of them, but the first round of them is going out on Monday. And then, while that was in timeout for a minute, I cast on this cellular shawl. So it is sport weight, right? I think. Gauge is not required for this project. So I think it says like just whatever. And it's by Kira K Designs. And yeah, so I cast on this in the meantime. So I just have a little bit, but I have it. So it's going to be just some hand spun for the main body. And then for the contrast, the cellular part of it, I'm going to use this Quince & Company pear Bosque. Is that what it is? I think it's called Bosque. And I'll use that for the like crissy crossy bits. Yeah. So that was good. Even though I did this much and then went back to that project and now have been mostly working on that project, I am excited about this project. So I think it's going to be very pretty. So yeah, look at me with all of my like non-saturated colors this week. What's going on? Oh my goodness. All right, I think that is all. That's all we should talk about this time. But maybe next time we'll talk more about menopause, right? Everybody loves it. I'm going to talk more about like the good things about menopause because I often am a little bit like, this is crazy. But some of the things are crazy good. So, and then maybe I'll do a special episode about my sweater. Yeah. Maybe we'll have more green beans to talk about. I don't know. I hope you find something that smells good this week. That's always a nice pleasant thing. I have this like, I made these little silly bracelets. One of them is like that lava stone that you can use as a diffuser or whatever. It's been really nice to put something that's nice smelling on there, and it's like, because it's been warm, and then you don't smell it most of the time, but then you put your hand up next to your face, you're like, oh, that's nice. So I hope you find something that smells nice this week. Or I hope you find something that smells so bad that it's exciting. And that your partner smells it too. Or the other person that you're near. Because I almost murdered my husband once for not smelling something that smelled bad. Murdered might be a strong word, but I've wanted to do him physical bodily harm. very bonding about a horrible smell. You know? So one or the other. Maybe both. That'd be cool. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye.